Okay, why the U.S. had to invade Venezuela. I mean, sort of been predicting it for years. I didn't think it would happen this way, and I don't think they're doing it for the reasons I'm giving you. I think it's, I'm not going to go into all that. But I'm just going to say, yeah, I mean, whether you do it now or next year or whatever, it's going to happen. There's just no way around it. And the reason is, I believe that we are in peak oil again. I mean, there are different types of peak oil, right? There was Hubbard's peak, and it was a true peak. I mean, for the technology he understood at the time, for the fields he understood at the time, he predicted it, and he was correct. There was peak oil and field oil, and then there's been peak oil with the North Sea. There's been peak oil with the Gulf of Mexico. There's been peak oil with Prudhoe Bay, right? I mean, peak oil happens in various different ways. And so the question today is there peak oil in shale? And, everybody has different opinions. I believe there is. Who knows what's going to happen in the future, right? But you still have to make a belief. And I believe we're definitely in serious trouble here, that we are running out of oil, and we need to get more oil. And Venezuela does not have good oil. And I was watching one of Mr. Global's videos, and he's saying, well, ExxonMobil's not going to invest in Venezuela. It's too dangerous. All this stuff. And I agree with it 100%. He's like, if they want to put their money, why wouldn't they just go buy Chevron? Well, because Chevron doesn't give you oil. Money does not equal oil. Oil equals money. And I think if there's one thing that we have a mass psychosis about, it's that everybody somehow thinks that money produces oil. Like you invest money and you can get oil out of the ground. No, there's a finite amount of oil under the ground. You pull it up and it becomes money. And it's become money in such a big way since 1850 that we've lost sight of the connection. Because we can expand the money, because we have banks that can create it whenever we want by manipulating interest rates or foreign trade or whatever, we now think like because we can control the interest rates, because we can control money, like money is it. Because humans always have a desire to feel like they're in control. So, the people that did this operation in Venezuela, again, they're arrogant. They feel they have control. There'll be no unintended consequences, et cetera, et cetera. But there's still the fact that whatever you think about them or whoever they are, there's only a limited amount of oil. And I'm not going to get into all the reasons why I believe that we're not, oil isn't depleting, we're in a plateau. But a plateau in a growing population where the world is going from 8 billion to 10 billion, that's just the same as a depletion. And because the oil is getting more expensive to mine, people don't see it because I think the IEA or whatever, they used to have the statistics on how much money it costs to get oil out of the ground, but that data is gone now. But we all know it's gone from maybe $1 a barrel to maybe $10 a barrel, right? So when you look at the plateau, that's the other thing is you get into the plateau, it looks like, okay, we're getting more and more oil, and now, okay, we're getting the same amount of oil. Not really, because as it gets harder to extract and process, it actually is less oil, right? Because oil in this data is all gross oil. It's not net oil, and net oil is decreasing. And I don't think really anybody would argue with that. So the reason we have to go into Venezuela is that it's a lot of and again this is anecdotal, but I'm curious to see what your comments are. Has anybody ever noticed the roads and the streets? I mean, it's like they need to be paved every year or every 2 year. The asphalt is horrible. And where does asphalt come from? It comes from heavy oil, right? So maybe I misunderstand it, but I think they're just using a bunch of like cheaper synthetic weird plastics that they create from oil, from lighter oil, or they're basically recycling tire. I don't know how they're doing it, but asphalt sucks. Okay, so that to me tells me there's a big problem. Another big problem, which I'm going to do some videos about, are all these really bright white vinyl fences, and that's made from oil too. And that stuff is just complete garbage. It will not degrade gracefully. So all these communities where they're renovating homes, this stuff is just going to look like utter crap in 10 years. And where's the oil to build better? Well, there's not enough trees, right? So I mean, not enough trees. It's the money to for the oil to cut down the trees and transport it. Anyway, there's just a bunch of things like this that tell me that we're already in a very serious oil shortage, and what that means is that money is basically consolidating around the wealthy. And again, I don't think that's any secret for the past 10 or 20 years, and that too is related to oil. So we must have the oil, because what Mr. Global, I feel, gets away from is there is no replacement. This isn't a question of business. This isn't a question of investment. This is a question of, where's any oil that we can get, and we need to be able to get it. I remember like a year ago, Biden flew in on these Ospreys, whatever, to New York for something, and as the helicopters landed, you could see all the heat coming out of these engines, like all these SUVs and helicopters, and the cameras showing the pier, and tremendous amounts of heat are coming up. And when you think of all the oil that was processed, right, for that power, right, you have to have it. And of course, we have the strategic petroleum reserves that are now low, right? And you think, that doesn't, again, it doesn't come from money. It doesn't come from a factory. You can't make it up. You have to get it underground for that raw power. And so, yeah, I think that, the whole Venezuela situation is dumb. But ultimately, it was going to happen. I mean, I've been, saying to anybody listens, it's going to happen for a long time. So it sort of came out. I was like, oh, it's a stupid, blah, blah, this. It doesn't make any sense. And I did that video about it saying that, it doesn't make any business sense. The Chinese have already been trying, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I'm just going with the flow of what's happening. My actual long-term and my deeper thought of it is that, the U.S. has to take the Venezuela oil. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It is in the national interest. It is just too valuable. There is no replacement. You have to go get it. So whatever the U.S. has to do to pacify or to protect the oil fields in Venezuela and get the oil, it's going to have to do. Now, not today, because we're in a recession, depression, whatever. I think we're in the early stages of World War III. But in the next year or two, yes, the mining operations in Venezuela will be big time. So Mr. Global's prediction was like in 5 years, like nothing will be happening. I'm the opposite prediction. In the next few years, a lot will be happening, and that Venezuelan oil will come out. People will die for it, and Americans will want it. I mean, not want people to die for it, but it will be accepted that it has to be, it has to be brought up under the ground to power all those military boats and aircraft and airplanes and whatever horrible stuff that World War III will bring us. So sorry to be a doomer about it. Anyway, where am I at? 9 minutes. That's enough for that little rant.